Hi guys, I'm mindful that we've covered a lot of modelling techniques and ground over these past few episodes. We've truncated 5 or 6 hours worth of modelling down into some very short segments, so there's a lot to take on board, but I thought it'd be good to pull together sort of a high level summary to reiterate some of the key points and ideas that have been discussed throughout these episodes and just document them in one place. So I think probably the most important first thing to say is in respect to sketch modelling, everybody will model differently. There's no right or wrong approach. You know, I was told in my early days of picking up Alias, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. The same is true for creating sketch models. I've shown you some of the techniques that I typically rely on, but there's plenty of others. This isn't the hard and fast single way of doing it. But as a newcomer, or a relative newcomer, I'd strongly recommend you don't worry about attempting to get into Class A, which is zero span modelling in the first instance. It's more about having fun with the software, building confidence, using it for ideas, exploration and 3D communication, because that's really what Alias is about in the first instance. It's about getting ideas up and running and being able to share those with your peers, with your boss, with the engineering community, whatever. In terms of sort of modelling workflow, I'd always advocate that you keep your curves and surfaces as simple as you can, you know, with as few CVs as possible. You know, I tend to rely on degree 2, degree 3. And I like to build all the theoretical volumes, you know, with the hard edges, and make sure I'm happy with the general character of it before I start applying detailed fillets and blends, because once you come away from that clean theoretical model, it can get difficult to get all the fillets and everything to join back up with clean flowing surfaces. So a theoretical based modelling approach, as we've demonstrated in these episodes, is one way of safeguarding that, because you've got robust data underneath it. As I've shown you in these episodes, you can direct edit CVs to add volume to surfaces once the overall character seems okay. I'm used to working with skins and then doing that process of pumping the surfaces. If you're used to working with 4-sided shapes in the first instance, you want to do that, that's fine. I just find working with skins and pumping them is a little bit quicker, but it's up to you. I would advocate, as I've sort of shown in these tutorials, assigning colours early in your model space so that you can start to understand the size and shape of eventual components and details and how that's all going to hang together graphically. So use your shader library, drag and drop, get the model sort of built up so you can start to see what the overall impression of the vehicle is, because it's very hard to really understand that when you're just looking at a blank model with sort of uniform shaders applied. As I've said, get your theoretical model up and running, and then use your fillets and blends to kill those edges. I'm typically using caudal fillets set up for G2 to ensure smooth curvature continuity. Sometimes working with full curvature throughout the model when you're a newcomer can be a bit daunting, but it's worth getting your head around that sooner rather than later, because the quality of the run in and the run out on the tangency and the blend is going to be better using a G2 fillet than a G1. And the other key thing that I'd like to just reiterate again is the idea of building variants, getting to a point with the model where, okay, I want to explore a different direction, build another model. I've seen some guys delete variants. They're not happy with it, so they'll just delete them. It's like, don't, keep it, because you could use that as the basis for the next one. You can modify things, you can rework things. Don't destroy your data. Just park it up, put it on another layer, build up your next variant, get to the point where you've got something you can compare, and then if one wins, take that element of the design on. But for me, the most important message that I want to convey is just have fun with the software. I've learned a lot through just doing, through modelling, through exploring, through trying ideas out that challenge me technically, but also just in design terms. If you get a hunch for something, try it, go with it. That whole process of exploring and refining as you go is really part of the creative heart of what I've learned using this software. And for that, Alias is an absolutely brilliant tool, and it's just made for it. So lap it up, use it, enjoy it. So I think what we should do is maybe just pull down the various sort of modelling tools that I've touched on along the way to just as almost a single page summary. There's other tools that I occasionally use, but to be honest, when it really boils down to it, it's kind of the stuff you see on screen now. As far as the initial setup goes, yeah, I'm using very low order curves, G1 through to G3 typically, to get the main slabs up and running. You can go higher if you want, you can have more complex curves, but generally I like to keep my surfaces really simple and light, and not have the surface having to change direction too much. You know, to me, if it's got to wrap through 90 degrees, chances are there needs to be another surface in there rather than one surface with a complicated flick at the end. Getting into initial surfacing itself, yeah, for me, I use the basics like skin and rail, supplemented with tools like MS Draft, planar surfaces and revolves to just get the basics up and running. And once you've got that sort of core geometry, those main volumes set up in space, it really is a case of then using some of these linking surfaces as I've defined them, you know, things like freeform blend, your chordal fillets, and maybe even a square occasionally, to join up the patches, get things lined up. But at the heart of Alias, you know, once you've got your main patches lined up, it's a case of sort of how do you modify them? You know, you're projecting onto surfaces so that you can subdivide them either through curves or using tubular offset. You'll be trimming things back so that you can build off edges, you can take things in a different direction. You're maybe adjusting the alignment, the tangency, through G1 alignment, G2 alignment. And these are, you know, as we pull the video together, I realise these are pretty much, for 99% of the work that I do in Alias, that's it. Those are all you really need to get things up and running. For me as a designer that then visualises, I'm usually cleaning up my data as I go and getting it ready for visualization. So I use the Surface Normals tool to make sure everything's blue, tidy, because that's what I need the data to be going into VRED. And it's easiest to get it done at source than downstream in VRED. So yeah, checking those Surface Normals, getting things all oriented the right way is part of my workflow. But depending on what you do and how you use the software, that might not be the case. But yeah, that gives you an overview of pretty much everything we've covered over these past 3 episodes, and gives you a flavour for how I typically work when doing sketch model definition work. I hope that was useful to you. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.